For the biofeedback setup, we have the encoder over here, which all of our sensors are connected into, and in turn is connected to our computer. The only 4 sensors that we will be hooking up to our participant today, Professor Duquette, are blood volume pulse. So essentially here, we will be collecting via an infrared camera on Professor Duquette's index finger to see if there's an increase in her blood volume pulse, which we do expect to increase essentially as there's more blood flow as she gets a little bit more stressed as we go through the biofeedback demonstration. Then the next 2 sensors, so they're going to go on her ring finger and middle finger. These are skin conductance. So as we get more stress, we tend to have sweatier hands, and therefore this will be able to pick that up. The next one is our temperature sensor, and that will be located on the pinky finger of Professor Duquette. And it's on the pinky finger because as we get more stress, think of fight or flight, our body essentially responds in such a way that the blood is shunted to our working muscles in case we need to flee, and therefore peripheral temperature tends to decrease. So this will be on her pinky, and if she gets stressed enough, we will expect to see a decrease in this value, whereas most of the other values will increase. And the last sensor we will be putting on Professor Duquette is the abdominal respiration sensor. So this will be around her abdomen. So as you get more stress, you tend to breathe more rapidly, which hopefully we will be able to pick up on this sensor. There's another few sensors we won't be using. So we have the EEG, and we could also set up EMG. So if we were to set it up, we would have to put electrodes on individual. So this could be set up on any muscles to see if there's increased activity as they become more stressed. And of course, EEG could be set up on the head, which we are also not going to be using today. On the back of the encoder, we have various channels for all the sensors, and they are denoted by various letters. So as I mentioned, BVP, blood volume pulse sensor, will be on Professor Duquette's index finger, which is connected to channels B. Channel C is the temperature, peripheral temperature sensor that's located on her pinky finger. Then channel D is the abdominal respiration, which is the sensor, of course, located around her abdomen. And then finally, we have sensor E, which is skin conductance, and they're located, there's 2 of them, on her middle finger and her ring finger. So once we can confirm all of that information, we can click OK. So I'm going to move this to the center. So we're going to start. There will be a baseline so that we can have baseline values for all of the various tests we will be doing. And we will be doing 3 different tests. So the first one will be a Stroop test. So that's a color test where you have to say the color of the font instead of actually reading the word, which will be a different color. Then we will do a math test, and then finally we will do a stressful event recall, and there's a bit of a rest period between all of these tests.
Stress assessment script instructions.
So here, once I've pressed on the green button, we have our first screen here. So this is just explaining everything that I just mentioned. So we will have our baseline, the color word or Stroop test, a rest period, a math task, rest period number 2, stressful event recall, and then rest number 3. So once you're ready, at the bottom you can say it says press any key to start.
Baseline.
So just baseline measurement, it will last a full minute. So essentially the participant is just going to relax so that we have baseline values for all the channels that we're recording. So of course that will be the BVP, the skin conductance, the temperature, and their abdominal respiration. So it is recording. You can see on the very bottom here, we have a timer counting down our minute. So you can see it's all recording. So sees the temperature at the very top. So that would be her pinky finger. We have skin conductance, so her middle finger and ring finger, BVP on her index finger, and respiration at the bottom here. We have about 15 more seconds of the baseline. Almost done. 5 seconds. 3, 2, 1. Now that we're done the baseline, we're going to move on to the color word test, or once again is also known as the Stroop test. So here are the instructions for the Stroop test. So the participant or Professor Duquette will have to actually read out loud, not what is written, but the color of the word. So it's a little bit tricky, and they will be displayed a little bit larger on the screen, and Professor Duquette can see the screen. So whenever she's ready, you're ready? Okay, I'm gonna press any key to begin.
Red, yellow, purple, orange, green.
So she still has a few seconds. It will automatically switch. Okay, go ahead.
Orange, red, yellow, green, blue.
Great job.
Yellow, green, red, purple, orange. Blue, yellow, orange, red, green. Red, purple, green, yellow, blue. Yellow, blue, red, purple, green. Red, yellow, blue, green, purple. Blue, purple, red, green, yellow.
So she's done 8 trials of 18.
Blue, purple, red, orange, green. Red, yellow, purple, orange, green. Yellow, green, red, purple, orange. Red, purple, green, yellow, blue. Red, yellow, blue, green, purple. Blue, purple, red, orange, green. Orange, red, yellow, green, blue. Blue, yellow, orange, red, green. Yellow, blue, orange, purple, green. Blue, purple, red, green, yellow.
Awesome. So she's done 18 out of 18 trials.
Much harder than it looks.
Yes, it's a lot harder. You definitely are more in tune to wanting to read the word as opposed to say the color of the font. So now we have a 20-second rest period between every single of our tests. This next test will be a math test.
Remember it fondly.
Yes. So the next test, essentially, I'm going to have the answers on the screen. So I'm going to now sit in front of the screen so that the participant cannot read the answers. So of course, the participant would not be able to see this. And essentially, I'm going to start them with a math problem, and then I'm going to ask them to continue on. And if it's right or wrong, I will let them know. And if they're struggling too much, then I'll give them the answer, and then they'll be able to continue on from there. Are you ready?
I'm ready.
So I'm going to press any key to begin. Starting from 1081, I want you to subtract 7 and keep subtracting 7 from your answer.
1081 and
Minus 7.
minus 7 would be, I'm already stressed out. 1074.
Correct. Minus 7.
1067.
Minus 7.
1060.
Minus 7.
1053.
Minus 7.
1046.
Yep. Minus 7.
1039.
Minus 7.
1032.
Minus 7.
1025.
Yep. Minus 7.
1017.
18. Minus 7.
1011.
Minus 7.
1004.
Minus 7.
Would be 997.
Minus 7.
990.
Yep. Minus 7.
983.
Minus 7.
976.
Minus 7.
969.
Minus 7.
962.
Correct. Minus 7.
955.
Minus 7.
947.
48. Minus 7.
941.
Minus 7.
934.
Minus 7.
927.
Minus 7.
920.
Minus 7.
913.
Minus 7.
906.
Minus 7.
899,
Yep, minus 7,
892,
minus 7,
885,
minus 7,
877,
878,
sorry,
minus 7,
871,
yep, minus 7,
864,
yep, minus 7,
857,
correct, minus 7,
850,
minus 7, and you're done.
Okay.
Great job.
Very stressful.
Yes, it's always stressful, especially when you're put on the spot. I feel like we're all very good at math until somebody just puts you in front of a classroom. So it's always stressful on the individuals that have to do biofeedback. So we have another 20-second rest period, as you can see at the bottom, that's concluding. And therefore, the last test is a stressful event recall. So it's up to the participant to talk for about 2 minutes if they can about a stressful event that happened in their life. And when we ask our participant, normally we try to ask them for it to be a true story so that it truly physiologically represents how they felt. So hopefully that we'll see some responses in our various sensors. And just before I start letting Professor Duquette give her stressful event recall, I just want to remind you of the various sensors because of course I don't want to interrupt her mid-story. So at the top we have BVP, then we have skin temperature, skin conductance, and our abdominal respiration. So don't be afraid to look at those as she's recalling her stressful event. Are you ready? Do you have one in mind?
I totally forgot that I needed to think of this, so I think I have one in mind. Yes, I have one in mind.
Okay.
Okay.
So in 3, 2, 1, go ahead.
Okay, so it's about my daughters because that's probably the most stressful thing that could ever happen in my life right now. And so when my daughters get sick, they get really, really high fevers. And I remember last year that my youngest daughter, who was very young at the time, she was only 1 at the time, she got a very high fever. And I think at the time it was like 104.9. And for those of you who don't speak in Fahrenheit, that is well above, I think it's around 40, so it's well above where it's supposed to be. And so I was panicked because all the walk-in clinics were closed. I think it was like late Friday night, or it was Friday afternoon, and so I had to take her to emergency, and that's the last place you want to be with a 1-year-old. And so I got to emergency. Of course, there was 50 people that were there already, but I thought, oh, my 1-year-old has a really high temperature, and they're gonna see her, and she started to get a rash, so they're gonna see her for sure. And we waited, and we waited, and we waited, and we waited, and we waited there for, I think it was about 6 hours, and it's very stressful because you're trying to be respectful of the nurses and not bother them, but also at the same time you're very concerned. And it just so happened that my KIN 4920 exam was at the same time. And, sorry, the phone rang, but that just made it a little more stressful. Okay. Sorry, the phone rang, that made it a little more stressful. But, so it also happened that my KIN 4920 exam was that night. So not only were we stressed in the hospital, but I'm also having to call my husband and figure out, okay, you bring my other daughter to the hospital, I'll give you the stroller, you can put one in the stroller, hold the other one, wait and emerge, I'll run, proctor my exam for 2 hours, and then I'll run back to the hospital. And so I remember physically driving to the school and thinking, okay, what is the quickest way for me to get in the building? What is the quickest way for me to get out of the building? And so I parked my car and literally ran. And it was very, very stressful. She ended up being okay, but we were there for 2 days.
Thank you for telling us that. So if you were paying attention to the screen, you would have seen that our respiration went up towards values about 12 breaths per minute. Her skin conductance also increased because of course we expect them to become more sweaty as they're retelling their story. Temperature remained fairly similar. I'd mentioned that was the one value we might expect to dip compared to the others that might increase, but if we had let her go on a little bit longer, then she may have seen that. And for all we know, the detailed data might show a decrease in that temperature, and blood volume pulse also went up significantly as well.